The government has swung into action over the country's GIB crisis. A task force has been set up to investigate shortages that have left builders in limbo and prices at exorbitant highs. But it's too late for some. Director of building company Brightbuild, Jennifer Taylor, is with us this morning. Jennifer, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ryan and Mel.
Hey, great to have you on the show this morning. Jennifer, when you heard yesterday they were setting up a task force, what did you think?
Too little, too late. I'd love to know what the government was, doing last year when it became apparent that this was actually going to be, a problem, and it snowballed and escalated. So since late last year, we were struggling to, get GIB orders. We were placing orders in advance, and as a result of that, we've been waiting 4 months for GIB to arrive, only to have one of our most recent orders arrive in part. So we actually received half what was needed to complete the job. Our merchants are similarly in the dark. They are saying that they don't actually have any visibility around when their scheduled drops are going to arrive. And then when they do arrive, it's not actually what they've requested. So it's a wee bit like a lolly scramble at the moment, for what is considered like ubiquitous in terms of building in New Zealand.
So do you have hands sitting idle, builders sitting idle because of the shortage?
Yeah, it's getting very, very difficult, in particular with winter. Generally in building you have an interior and exterior work, so obviously as the weather closes in and you have bad weather, you switch to your interior. Now, almost every single piece of interior work that you do as a builder in New Zealand has had GIB specified. And it's not a simple matter of just being able to swap out a piece of GIB for another piece of plasterboard for most residential building. And that's because in the consent stage, what's happened is that over time, GIB has gone from being a cosmetic layer, say like your paint, which could be interchangeable, to actually becoming part of the bracing element, so something that helps withstand the shear forces in your building. So when an architect is doing the plan, they actually look at, okay, the span of the wall is this, okay, I need this much bracing, and GIB actually contributes to it. So it becomes part of the calculation. So effectively, over time, GIB has become the standard. Architects will only look at GIB, they will use those numbers, and so as a result, everything that's around the building physics in that consent has been based off that specific GIB
We're
number.
hooked on GIB. We're hooked on GIB and we're locked into GIB.
We are.
So what we need is the government to come in and to give us some alternatives that councils will give sign-off to, right?
Yes, it's actually a really simple fix, and one of my messages to the Minister would be around, aside from what have you been doing for the last 8 months, would be why a task force now? Okay, the industry knows what's necessary, and we don't really want to risk this becoming another talk fest where we have weeks of lost productivity building, further. As it is, we've got builders that are struggling, that are going to the wall. They've got cash flow issues. A number of builders work off staged payments, which they only get paid when they reach a certain stage. And one of those is at lining stage. So from there on, you start having all of these issues. So you get a push out on the lining inspection, then your plasterer, your painter, your electricians. It's actually affecting many people amongst the industry.
All out of whack and a real flow-on effect. Director of building company Brightbuild, Jennifer Taylor. Jennifer, thanks very much for your time this morning.